Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we are starting a new series called Moderate Mods, and basically we'll be taking cars that are decent but could do with some improvement, either via giving it more power, better handling, a little bit less in the way of weight, change of gearbox, whatever. So yeah, basically we're going to be starting out with this MG, the MGB GT, and yeah, it's a cracking little sports car in its own right. I'll show you off its stats. But it does have some flaws, and yeah, it's from 1966, and it's got 95 horsepower, 110 pounds-feet of torque for its 1.8 litre inline-4 engine, and it weighs a modest 2,360 pounds, and it's got a good balance of 50-50 weight distribution. So in terms of weight and its balance, it's really rather good, but 95 horsepower, even for the mid-60s, isn't all that great. Decent amount of torque though, but yeah, obviously the power is aided by the fact that it doesn't weigh all that much. But in terms of what it can do, it's not particularly quick. As you see, 12.8 seconds to 60, 47 seconds just over it to 100, and it will do 111 miles an hour. So yeah, it might have been fairly decent for the time, for the kind of price that it was. It certainly wasn't priced as much as say a Lamborghini, a Jaguar, or anything like that, or an Aston Martin, but not particularly quick. So what we're going to do, we're going to take it around a course for 3 laps to see what kind of time we can get. Then we'll take it to the garage, give it its extra modifications. It's not going to be anything extreme, but it's going to get extra modifications nonetheless. Then we're going to take it back to the track and see how much of a difference the modifications have made in terms of its time. So yeah, let's get to the circuit. And yeah, I do really like this car though. I am glad that we've got more British cars from the 60s and 70s to try out in these games. But yeah, there's no doubt that it's definitely something that needs a bit of improvement. So we're going to be going around the Greendale Club circuit for 3 laps. We are going to dive into rivals, so we don't have to race against anyone else. Get into D class, and yeah, let's see what this MG can do. Now granted, it's not going to set the fastest of times around here, purely because of the power and the fact that there's a few inclines to get around. But I chose this circuit because of those inclines and the fact it's got a good mix of straights and corners. So yeah, it's really going to test any car that has some flaws, and then hopefully when we've upgraded the car to some degree, it's going to be evident that those flaws have been either removed or lessened. So yeah, as you can see, fairly steep incline to start with, so this isn't going to be hopefully much of a problem when we upgrade the car. But yeah, even though in this stock version it's not the quickest of cars, it's got its plus points. Like I said, it doesn't weigh all that much, it's got a bang on 50-50 weight distribution, it revs rather nicely to nearly 6,000 RPM, and because it doesn't weigh all that much, its handling is fairly decent considering it's on old age suspension, doesn't have the widest of tyres, and yeah, doesn't exactly have much in the way of technology going for it underneath. We're going to take the flying lap time as well. We're not going to just do the first time that we get, obviously because we're doing 3 laps. So yeah, first lap is always going to be the slowest, but yeah, still going to be interesting to see what it can do overall. And then we'll see what it can do when we change it slightly. But yeah, you don't expect upgrades that are going to be along the lines of extreme off-road silly builds or how fast will it go. We're not going to be putting 1,000 horsepower in any of these cars. Just moderate mods. That's the name of the series, and that's what we're going to be sticking to. Because yeah, I on the whole do prefer to keep cars stock, but there's no doubt out there that cars like this do have room for improvement, and I'm completely fine with at least keeping them in some respects the same way that they were originally. Yeah, there's no doubt that this car could be a lot faster. It's not going to be ridiculously quicker, it's going to be realistically quicker. Certainly not going to be sticking any engines in this that you wouldn't expect to be able to fit, while obviously keeping a lot of the elements the same, We're not going to be throwing out loads of weight. We're not going to be changing the drivetrain. I'm certainly not going to be changing any cars from rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive cars to rear-wheel drive, or anything like that. And visually, they're most likely going to stay the same as well, especially in terms of wheels. But if certain cars do have mods where you can change bumpers and spoilers and rear bumpers and side skirts and the like, and if I think they look good enough, then I will change them into that as well. We will take a look at everything that we can do to this car to weigh up what we will or won't do. And yeah, this second lap is significantly quicker than the first, nearly 10 seconds or so quicker, which just shows how slow this car was getting off the line and getting up that first hill. So let's see if we can improve even further on this final lap. Now I'm going to be keeping all the cars in automatic as well, just to make it fair. Some cars are going to be far quicker than other cars, and it's just easier for me to commentate and concentrate on driving by keeping it in automatic. Let's see if we improve on this final lap. It's not looking likely. Nope, just off. But there we go, 1 minute 20.514. I'm just going to go write that down now. But yeah, I'll see you when we get into the garage to see what mods we can give it. So yeah, let's get there and get some upgrading on the go. Right, so here we are in the upgrade menu, and yeah, we're going to take a look at the kind of things we can do. Obviously we could upgrade the original engine, but I think on the whole it's just a little bit too old, or at least doesn't have a good basis for power. So we are going to swap the engine out, but the choices we have, as you can see, are numerous. We have 4 to choose from. We have a 3.2 litre inline 6 that would give it an extra 226 horsepower up to 321. We have a 3.9 litre V8 that would give it 182 horsepower, so not a lot of extra horsepower, only 87 extra horsepower, but it would more than double the amount of torque that it has at 232. But as you can see, it does upset the balance of the weight a little bit and add some extra weight, whereas the inline 6 is actually lighter than the inline 4. We also have a 6.2 litre V8, I think that's on the whole a little bit too big, and a 1.6 litre inline 4 turbo rally, which I think on the whole is a little bit too powerful, especially in terms of the torque. So I think we're going to actually go for the 3.9 litre V8. Now you might be saying that's a little bit too ludicrous. How can you fit a 3.9 litre V8 in this? Well, they actually did put a V8 in this in the 70s in the form of a 3.5 litre V8, but it is essentially the same V8 because it's the same Rover V8 that was put in numerous cars, from everything from TVR to Range Rovers, and yeah, it was tunable from 3.5 litres all the way up to more than 4 litres, 5 litres I think. So yeah, it's not unrealistic to have this engine in the car, despite being slightly bigger than the actual engine they put in. So yeah, we're going to give it that engine. Not going to change the drivetrain or give it a turbochargers or anything. And in terms of what we can do in terms of body weight, we can only really add a little bit of a splitter, a spoiler that doesn't really look all that good, and remove the bumpers. So yeah, we're going to keep the bumpers because yeah, it would reduce weight, but on the whole I think this car looks better with them. Not going to change the overall drive and tyre tread, I don't think, even though we can go with vintage race tyre compounds, but we don't really need racing tyres on a normal ordinary road car like this. We will increase the width of the tyres though, especially in the rear. We'll go 195s and we'll go 175s for the front. Now we're going to lighten up the drivetrain by a fair bit. We'll give it a race drive line, and we'll improve the clutch to a sport clutch, and we'll give it a street transmission, which will add an extra gear, which I think we'll probably need for a larger engine like this. We'll give it some extra street brakes just to give it the braking that it needs to stop it now that it's got all that extra power. We'll give it street suspension, so it lowers it by 0.2 of an inch, which is nowhere near as ludicrous as you can see, as you can get up to the racing suspension, but I think because obviously this is still supposed to be a road car, we'll just give it street suspension, and we'll give it a sporty anti-roll bars front and rear. And then in terms of power, well, I'm not going to give it a ludicrous amount of extra power, so I think we'll just do the air filter, or the intake. We'll give it a race intake, and we'll give it a sport manifold. Take it up to 195. And then we'll lighten the flywheel a little bit. We'll give it a sport flywheel, take an extra 8 pounds off, so it weighs at 2425. So it's still a little bit heavier than it was originally, but it's got far more power than it ever had originally. So yeah, let's install it, and let's see what the difference in acceleration is like. It was 12.8 seconds to 60, it only managed 100 in about 40 seconds, and it could do 111. It can now do 0 to 60 in 8.354 seconds, so nearly nearly 4 seconds quicker to 60, I think there. We've nearly halved the 0 to 100 time, and now we can do 141 miles an hour, so 30 extra miles an hour on the top end. So yeah, this should do fairly well. So let's get back to the track and well, the course, and see what this car can do. Right, so the car's now moved up to C class. So yeah, we're evidently going to be a far faster car. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much quicker it can go over the original time of 1 minute 20.514. Slightly lower in terms of revs due to the fact it's now a lazier V8. And it did spin quite a lot off the line there. I'll let you listen to the engine for a little bit though. So yeah, it's not the greatest sounding V8 ever, but it is an interesting sounding V8 nonetheless due to how small the cubic capacity is. Yeah, it's definitely feeling faster than the original car. So it got all of that extra torque, which is going to help in terms of getting up those inclines. And even on the first lap we are quicker at 1 minute 17.711, so a little under 3 seconds quicker than our fastest time. So let's see how much we can widen that gap. So yeah, you really don't have to do massive amounts of upgrades on cars to make them more fun for yourself. You don't have to stick V12s in cars and, you know, give them more than 1500 horsepower and whatever else to make them fun. This car already was in its stock form a decently fun car, but giving it this V8 with a noticeable amount of extra horsepower, it's got 100 extra horsepower, and a noticeable amount of extra torque, it's got more than twice the torque it had originally, while not weighing all that much extra, and just having slightly lower suspension, slightly wider front and rear tyres, a slightly better gearbox, a lighter flywheel, better clutch, and better brakes, and better anti-roll bars, and that's really all you need. I know it still sounds a lot, but given all of the things that we left out, that's not all that much in context. So yeah, another 6 seconds off there. Now we didn't improve at all on our third lap for the stock version of this car, so let's see if we can at least do that with this version. Really wish they would put in the actual V8 version of this car from the 70s in this game though, because yeah, I would like the real thing rather than having to upgrade a car that at the time didn't have it. Especially since it would be the smaller 3.5 litre V8, which would on the whole make this a better handling car, because it does have someone to steer on the go up front due to the increase in weight up front, which in game is fine, but in real life that wouldn't actually happen, because the V8 in real life was actually lighter than the inline 4 engine that it replaced when they swapped him out. But yeah, there we go, no actual improvement on the third lap there for whatever reason. I just guess we run out of talent after the second lap. But yeah, there we go. It's a cracking car now that it's got that V8 engine. It was a fairly decent car in its stock form, but now that we've given those upgrades to this car, it's a it's more than 9 seconds quicker than what it was in stock form. So that's a massive improvement over the standard car. And yeah, even though it does sound like a long list of things to do to the car, like I said, there are many extra things you could have done to this car to make it either quicker or ludicrously quick. So yeah, it's just a nice series to show that you can do very little with a car and still make big improvements over what the standard car could do. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first episode in this series. And yeah, I look forward to doing more of them. And yeah, if you've got any suggestions for cars that you would like to see slightly improved, like this MG, then yeah, I'm open to suggestions. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.